Hey, welcome back. It's me, Vince Mancuso, and we're going to move ahead here and do project 2. Okay? So before I do anything, I'm going to go in the corner here and change now the project number from 1 to 2 and make sure I've got all that information, my name, Vince Mancuso, T1, as my example day, TH12. For the other classes, it would be TH3 or F12 or F3-fall 2020, and then your professor's name, who happens to be the student as well today. So now that I've done that, cool, I've got my cubes and I got to figure out how to apply tone to them, okay, and create a consistent lighting scheme. Okay, so let's take a look at that problem, okay, and then we'll proceed to apply the tone. So I'm going to turn this off for now and just going to demonstrate something. You've got your picture and it's here, okay, and you've got all these cubes all over the place. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? And now you need to establish a light source. So where do you want your light source to be? For example, look at how I do this. If I create a light source there, right, and I bring it parallel, right, down to a ground point, right, that I establish, and then I send my shadow line in the direction that I want the light to go, right? This becomes the angle of my light. Okay, this is very important. And now I'm the artist, right? So I can put this light anywhere. I could put my light source over here, right? And I want it to come more across the page, parallel, say, to the picture plane, right? So now this is the angle of my light. Okay, I could set the light high and drop it behind here and then bring the ground shadow along like this and forward to the picture plane, and now the angle of my light is here. Right? Now what this means, if you looked at the light video, light moves in 360 degrees. So because it moves in 360 degrees, it can go in any direction. It's moving from that central source out in radiating lines in 360 degrees in every direction simultaneously at once, okay? So you can direct it in any way and bring the light from the back coming to the front, and then you're going to illuminate your cubes that way. Every plane that's facing closest to the light gets the light tone. The next furthest away gets the shadow tone, and the furthest away gets the core shadow. So that's what I'm going to do, right? And you got to think, okay, off the page too. You use your imagination. Obviously, you can put it to the four corners, but just think about it, right? It's outside of the page up here. So what's the angle of the light? Where's the direction? And draw in a few direction lines or give you a direction grid to give you an idea. I'll show you how I'm going to do that on a layer so that have a reference point, right? So I'm going to turn that off now. I'm going to bring my cubes back. I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to change the color here to red. Okay, so you can see my light grid. So imagine that my light is coming from above in this direction. Okay, and it's actually going to come slightly from the front, not exactly from the side. Parallel to the picture plane. Not exactly like that. A little bit to the front. So my angle of light, look at how I create it, is kind of something like this. It's going to do something like this, right? So this is where my light source would be. This is where my ground would be, and now my angle is just turning inward like that a little bit, as opposed to parallel, right, to the picture plane, right? And that is the trajectory of my light, see? So now I've got this idea in my head, right, of what the light is, okay? So, on the basis of that, look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this off, all right? I'm going to put another layer here in between my cubes, and I'm going to establish some tones. So I'm going to get my light tone. I put that right up in there. I'm going to get my mid-tone there. I'm going to get my shadow tone there, and then my black tone for the cast shadow. I'm going to bring the cast shadow and the core shadow together a little bit, make a softer transition. So my light is coming from above, so look at what I do now. I go on a tear with the light tone. Bingo. Get the light tone. I got everything completely opaque, and I'm going to try to draw these things. I want to get a better pencil to do this work. Let's see here. I'm going to get my pencil. Let's try the pencil block. See how that goes. Yeah, and get a much more. There we go. Big hard cut. You see that? Big hard cut right across that edge. Gonna come right across this edge. Boom. Boom. And now I'm covering, right? Definitely this is a light tone. This is a light tone. Nice, clean, direct strokes. Boom. Covered. Okay, I'm gonna do this one. This one's covered. Do all the light tones first. Just think, just think, right? Yeah, keep it under control. Here, oops, let's go. There. Don't worry if things blend together a little bit. That's all right. There. So I'm going for all these upturns. Okay, so that's what it looks like to me. Everything that's turning upward is going to get a light tone, and I'm working this out first. I like what I did here. You see how I made that sort of completely disappear, right? That's okay, I'm now looking to create more of a dimensional structure. A little bit more opaque, right? So here, oops, gonna get that like that, and then cut around those little squares so that I know to go back afterwards. And now I need to put a light tone there on them, and one on there, and here, and here, there, this one, here, that one. I'm going to go over here. This is going to get a light tone. I'm going to leave my tones in there for now, so that they're there as I work my way through. And this starts to establish a consistent lighting pattern, right? Because your logic is consistent, right? It's coming all from one light source. And that immediately takes something as complicated as this and starts to unify it in a more holistic logic, compositionally. This is what's important, right? This is seeing the bigger picture, right? It's really seeing the bigger picture and understanding that, you think from the big concepts to the details, to the little details, because without that foundation being correct, your drawing's just going to go off, right? And thus it'll look amateurish, even if you're really trying to do it right. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out here. I see it. I'm going to go here. That plane, look at that plane here. See, the cube is turning that way. It's got a shallow side, like maybe right in there. And I'll just cut that way a bit so I remember this has got to go darker. It's right on the top there. Then it turns to the side. Then here it continues. There's a top of a cube right there underneath that one. And there's one here. Right, and there's one right beside there. And there's one right on top there. Now you can see I'm losing some of my cubes now because I'm solidifying the drawing, so what you could see previously transparently is kind of fading away. So I'm going to color this light for now, but I think what's going to happen there is a cast shadow will go in and really sort of block out, Yeah, I'm just going to, for my purposes, to remember. There it is. See? One of the shadow sides. And there's a shadow side right in there. Okay? Now I'm going to go back and continue on just popping in the highlights because we're almost kind of done there. Get that right in there. Get that in there. See? I just follow this logic. It's in a way, it's as simple as paint by numbers, right? But it's paint by numbers, a process established by you, the artist. Okay, this is what makes the whole thing really interesting and, of course, completely original. Because it's not someone else's system, and you're just going in and sort of filling in the color, right? This is unique. Okay, so I'm gonna lose all those guys in there. Well, that's okay. I'm gonna deal with that. This one here, I'm gonna do something because I might create that and make it transparent. So I'm gonna make that one cube in there transparent. So I'll light that one and so on. What do we got back in here? So no. Okay, so I think I can start to move on and I can start to put in the other tones. So I'm going to go now to the mid-tone. Right? So I'm gonna take the facing downward and make that the mid. So anything that's kind of going downward, moving away from me, but facing me, as parallel, the plane that's the most parallel to the picture plane. Let's see here. This should go over. Yeah. Let me just bring this all the way back up there. Yeah. That way we can see all the name information through. Okay. So that one, that plane. I never know, adding a few cubes as I go. Why not? I'm the artist. I can make this whatever I want it to be. So a little bit on that frontal plane there, and this, that side. There. One there. One there. This one. It's kind of like I'm rediscovering, my own journey when I did the drawing. You see, it's actually kind of cool. It's like you're going back. And rediscovering, where you put your lines, where you put the light tones, and changing things. Who says you can't change it? If you see all of a sudden a better opportunity, you go for it, right? So I'm going to put this in here because it'll just help the composition. Well, you know what? I'm going to get some of that tone in there. You know what? Keep rolling. See, this is the tendency, you sort of keep putting in all those midtones, right? Get that all done. Just singularity of purpose, You got to think efficiency when you're drawing, especially when you got to do a lot of stuff. If you're working on a film, for example, and there's a lot of concept variations and explorations, so you got to do a lot of character development, storyboard frames, you got to draw and redraw the storytelling and the sequencing and the imaging, of the movie. And so you got to do that, and you got to do a lot of drawings. So you got to think efficient. You got to be efficient. It's the only way you can make a living at it. And it's tough. It's tough. Sometimes it just seems obvious, to just get lost and instead of thinking about, how do I draw this and make it really, really work. Getting some of these on the downside planes. And there. Got that. Gonna play on there. What is happening back here? I don't know, but I'm gonna put another kind of cube right here. Just kind of makes sense to me. Looks better. It creates a little bit of sense of space, fills that up. And I got one right here, riding above, so I'm gonna go right over top of that. And then over here, I'll just give this a little sense of something there. There's another cube running off the page. Okay, and now I'm going to go in for the dark tone. Okay. This will really start bringing things together. And look, I'm having fun, man. I'm just relaxing. Not going crazy. I'm trying to be cool. I'm thinking about what I'm doing, and I'm not going to lose my mind. I'm just gonna make it fix any convergent issues. As I go along, when I see them, go, oh yeah, look, I didn't angle it enough. I didn't do this enough. And pop in all those values. where I think they need to go. And sometimes when you get into the minute areas, you know, it's just kind of like a little stroke. And it's no big deal. This is, you know, a little dab. You know, you're using pastels. It's a little smudge of pastel, you know, to get that tone. Little gesture. And now I can also start having fun. Like I know that in some of these would be in cast shadow. Some of them that break out into the open, you know, they're not. Right? And so I'm just filling them in, you see. I'm playing here like I'm showing you the inside of the box here. And I'm bringing this across into the shadow like that. Let's see here. I'm just being thorough. Get in there. Get that. Get that. These cubes here are going to all go in shadow. Right? And just give you an impression. And right in here. Right in there. Shadow action in here like that. Just that's a little cast shadow, and I'm using it. Right? I'm gonna, and it doubles up, right? It gives me now like a sense of depth, right? You know, I'm gonna do something like this here. Just add a little cast. Gives it some depth. Right? I'm gonna cast in here a little bit, right down. Right in there. So now I'm kind of in a way starting to cheat, right? I'm playing games. And I am changing things to suit my image idea or illusion, right? And if I do it properly, you know, it's like it's going to work. You're going to believe it. You know, these cubes will look illuminated. Change the angle on that regression. You know, come up the side in here. Get some of that cast shadow on that edge. Drop in a cube right in behind there. And so now I'm going to go back here. And that needs a hit there. And then I don't need that anymore actually, because I've got so much now that I can just touch any one of those. So I'm just going to blend this out now. You can see I'm sort of just quietly sort of getting into it. And it's kind of like what happens, you know? I'm going to put some of that gray tone in. Actually, I'm going to put this mid-tone in here. So it's inside the box and it's getting a bit of shadow. And you're seeing the box inside the box. just tone in that like that. That works quite nice. And over here now, I want to get this on this side. Like that. What do we got going on over here? I gotta get a little shadow rimming here and underneath. Little shadow here on the side. These are gonna go further back and like that, and inside there. Then I'm gonna get in here with this tone. There's a simple rule that, you know, if it's black, it black recedes and in white light comes forward. And so when you plan your composition and you start moving into managing the edges of your drawings, you start to, now I'm putting in some cast shadows, play just with the fact that one tone will recede something, make it go back a darker tone, and another tone will make it come forward. And this allows you to manipulate the illusion even further, right? Which is a good thing, right? You know, and so it's not about, you know, being exact. It's about creating that impression that's sort of believable, you know? And that's now I'm starting to cheat. I'm starting to bring in some shadow moves, you know, that are bringing the forms together and also setting some of the others back. And it starts to create that sense of light, right? It's amazing, right? You know, it's like I put a little cast shadow there, but you know, I'm sort of suggesting that, okay, well, you know what? I'll let it catch here a little bit too. But it's like this one here got away a little bit, right? And here I'll just put a little shadow in there, and you know, that kind of stuff, right, makes a difference. It sort of just really makes things pop. Get this over here, fill that in. Now I can pop cubes all over the place here. Yeah, just to close out these spots and make things look even more dimensional. Because in some aspects, you know, the cube is nothing more than just a square now. You know, because you're not even going to see it, right? Not going to even see it. So come down here now. Let me see if I come down this corner. Bingo. I come down and I catch this corner here. I come down. So it'd be something like this. Coming to here. Coming to this point. Right? And then, you know, somewhere here. So now just take advantage of that. It gives me an interesting shape. And then I'll bring it down like that, and it looks like it's casting a shadow on this cube. And I know this is scary. The cast shadow is a scary thing, you know, but you got to dare to try. And, if it doesn't work, then you start figuring out, like, well, what went wrong, and so on and so forth. But you've got to fool around with it so that you optimize the illusion that you're creating of these objects. You see, like, there's a cube in there, but I need to turn it into a shadow. And then it'll feel like there's some stuff going on in there. You don't even have to see it, right? But you kind of know that, oh yeah, that's happening now, right? Just by doing that now, it looks like there's a cast shadow on the back of that, right? Yeah, and that's like starting to come together. Let's see here, what else? I'm gonna turn around and take this tone, the mid-tone, treat it like a bit of a shadow on these two, like that, and then probably go one more step with this one back in here and just silhouette it out, right? And right in here. Little cube in there. And there you have it. Now, this is, see how simple that was in terms of creating a page like that of cubes, right, floating in space. And now watch. I have a little bit of time. I haven't taken too much to do it, so now I can go back and tighten some things up. And I'm going to put some highlights on this, okay? This will really start to give it a nice crispness, right? I'm going to put some highlights, on some pretty obvious edges. I don't have to do it everywhere now. I just have to give the illusion of it just in critical moments, and it allows me to tighten things up, bring some of the details back. Now look at what I'm doing. You see, I'm sort of the key edges, right? I'm letting them get a little highlight, right? Right in the thing, and then I'm just letting it taper, right? Little, and I'm letting it taper. Highlights, when they make their contact, the point of contact is where they swell. And then as they move along an edge, they start to taper, diffuse, right? So you can play with that. That also will give people the illusion that light is happening, okay? So I'm going to get that crisp right there. I'm going to get that corner right there. You see, now that gives it a little bit of oomph, just in some critical spots, right? Because the eye is attracted to highlights. And now I'm going to go in and get a black, and I'm going to go and start bringing that in the under shadows of the drawing. Okay, and once again, I'm working quick. Right underneath there. Right, we'll put that on that edge there because, it's like, look, there's a cube in there. I'll just blacken it out and make it feel like there's some sort of structure back there. And I come across here, black that out right there so that we get a darkness come on that edge. Black that out so it sits back. Give that a clean up on its shape, try to make it into a better cube, improve it so that there's no confusion. Right. I can actually throw some more in and just kind of make it feel. Yeah, like now they're like little dots. dots. Right? Getting clean edges. Right? Even coming in very slightly, look, right on the edge, on the inside, right? Pumps out that, you know, that white highlight. That's a good thing. Yeah, see, I'm restating. Let that drip away. Yeah, sort of belief that there's cubes there. You're gonna come right underneath that, highlight a little bit. Yeah. Now look, now I'm just gonna cross, you know, the little cross shimmer, right, on some of these planes. Yeah, let some of that work for me. Put another cube right in there. Right. And there's project 2. Done. See, no big deal. I bet you I didn't even take more than an hour, less, you know? I bet you I did that in 45 minutes. Let's see. I'm going to stop the video. So there's project 2. That's what I want you to do. I want you to take the satellites of cube. You do a minimum of 100. More is best. You first apply your light, shadow, core shadow. Then you go back and you do your cast shadow. And then if you can, you go back and put your highlight. You put your contour to tighten up some things, maybe some reflected light. You shimmer that back into the shadow areas without getting too bright. And then all of a sudden you start to create this illusion that these cubes are being lit by the same light source from the same direction, coming from the front and coming across a little bit. Perfect. Done. That's all we need to do. Ciao for now. Have fun.